What's up, guys? Nicholas Tyler Blackwater, Discursive Studios. Today we're going to be talking about instilling resolve and skills within us. Something that I think we could use a little more these days. Free quality, yes indeed. I think it's high time that we start sharing a little more content that could help within our lives. We have the means and the capacity to do so. It might just come down to the drive, a little bit of direction, and the permission to proceed. Have you ever been in a position where there is a problem and it kind of stops you in your tracks? And somebody else comes along and they have the answer readily available. Now, is it that they're just somehow gifted, genetically gifted with these answers? Did they pull it from the ether sphere? Or did they just grow up in an environment where it was encouraged for them to apply these skills? The understanding was nurtured? I think we know the answer to that. Current educational facilities may be a little bit out of our league as it is right now. What if we created our own environments to cultivate and build upon our skills? Now, what type of quality might I be alluding to? Well, it could involve health, wealth, and relationships. These are the type of evergreen topics that we could approach. We could basically spend the rest of our lives, the rest of our careers delving into these topics, and they'll never be exhausted. This all requires a certain level of competency. Now, competency is only going to be developed as we do. Now, it's not going to look 100%. It's going to look a little sloppy, a little amateur to begin with, but that's the case with any path that we go down. It just comes with time. I think with today's world, there is that instant gratification in which we seek, and if we're not getting those results that we want within the first few attempts, then sometimes we could be discouraged. Now, is this a world too far off where we have basically individuals, communities creating value, products and services within their communities, cutting out the middleman per se? For a time, it's probably best that you share this knowledge for free, develop your skills, build an audience. Eventually people are going to notice the qualities that you bring to the table, and then you could expand from there. This ought to take several months at the very least, if not years, for you to gain enough trust within the community to really expand, develop your craft, and get noticed. So this isn't the first time this has ever been uttered. If we could all just bring everybody together, if they had high levels of education and skills, there's no telling what type of civilization we could have, flying cars, going to the moon, living in peace, perhaps even Star Trek mentality where we're not driven by monetary gains. It might be hard for people to wrap their heads around this type of civilization where we're all living, building together, but I believe it can be accomplished, where I've seen it firsthand myself, watching these people operate within the real world, solving things, being compassionate, understanding, highly intelligent, carrying with them a certain level of wisdom. Of course, I think it's 100% a possibility to come together as a global planet with individuals having their own unique identity and set of skills. So yes, one of the things that's holding us back, our tendency towards comfort and ease, that quick fix. Sometimes it is easier just to lock ourselves away in our room and spend a lot of time with our devices, our phones. There's endless amounts of entertainment out there. There's endless amounts of food, quote unquote, we could consume to make us feel like we're having a true experience. But then you remove yourself from there, and then you realize perhaps that the world is a little more unrelatable than you might have imagined. This virtual world you've been in. And of course, this would involve drugs and alcohol. Now, while you're in the throes of habitual pathological tendencies, it might be a little difficult for you to understand that you're in the middle of it. It's hard to see the forest through the trees, where if that's all you know, it might be difficult, if not impossible, for you to consider any other type of reality. How might we counteract these negative effects of a wandering mind? When the internet first came about, we had this wonderful amount of research and data at our disposal, but one particular writer found himself jumping from one topic to the next. He couldn't actually focus long enough to read those longer articles anymore. His attention span got shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. There's the difficulty with having so many videos and so much entertainment opportunities and so many food options, quote unquote food options at our disposal, that we could be pulled from one thing to the next endlessly. It's difficult for us to get out of that. So what might we do to counteract our wandering minds? Well, one of the things is meditation, because meditation really cuts to the heart of the problem of being distracted in many different ways, and gives you exercises to strengthen your mind and strengthen your concentration. If your mind is being constantly pulled from one thing to another, then meditation allows you that space to focus, to not necessarily shut off your mind and escape the world around you, but really to engage your thoughts and your emotions where they're at right then and now, and see if you cannot sustain concentration on one particular thing, whether it be your breathing, whether it be sounds around you. You know, breathing and tuning into your breathing is one of the best ways of actually fine-tuning your mind, focusing on one particular thing. Balance offers one of the best apps that I've come across. It's all research-based. It doesn't really delve into the whole connecting with the oneness of the universe and transcending this dimension, but really it focuses on research-based techniques to improve concentration, to improve health and well-being. It's quite an amazing app and reasonably priced. So the Pygmalion effect. I'm not good enough. This is basically all I deserve. This self-fulfilling prophecy is devastating. I implore you to grant yourself the permission to aspire higher. You do deserve more. And when I mean deserve, I think you have the capabilities, you have the faculties, you have the means to fashion an ideal life. It's just going to take a little time. It's going to take a little concentration. That's why we're pulling in so many different elements to try to get ourselves on top of our game. So if you're fully rested, you've got the physical activity together, and you got some good nutrition, then this will give you a better chance at fashioning that ideal life, that ideal world that you would like to see around you. Another common idea that gets in people's way is that, well, if I only had this, then I could finally be happy. I could be ready to move forward, and I can make different moves. Well, my friend, I'm here to tell you that the perfect time is absolutely never going to come. So one of the things about freeing the quality is to free it right away and not wait until you've had that perfect idea, or you've fashioned it so much that you think it's just the perfect thing and everybody's going to love it, and then you release it and then it doesn't quite hit the mark. Perhaps you're going to get a little discouraged. Perhaps you think that you're doing something wrong, but really it's just a matter of putting things out there, giving them a try, and seeing how people react to them. And it'll be also a good idea to get a mentor on your side to kind of guide you in a proper direction to go in case you start to stray off course. So there's many ways that we could help ourselves along the way with these complex matters. So yes, it's never going to be the right time for you to make your move. You're just going to make moves, try not to invest too much time and effort into all these moves, and just go with whatever you got right now and then see what happens. People will offer you feedback, and hopefully this will offer you a better direction to go with your future endeavors. So yes, permit yourself to set those standards a little higher than what you're used to. Expect that, maybe not demand that so much. Try to stay humble and, approach these things with humility. Fashion them with respect and strength, compassion towards others. And I think you'll get the best results. Being humble and approaching things with humility is going to come across much better than somebody that's just barreling in there and expecting that the world deserves them something. So I would suggest that we begin with a humble pen and paper. This is one of the most powerful tools that I have at my disposal So I got a lot of books here, my camera, the phones, the lights, but when the time hits and the time comes and I got to transfer ideas from one thing to another, or I got to jot something down quickly, pen and paper is just amazing. And there's something about the connection between the words that you're writing, your experience, and doing that physically rather than just typing it onto a screen and then it gets buried away somewhere. I really like the fact that you could take your piece of paper and you could bring it around with you, you could stuff it in your pocket, you could hand it off to somebody else, and it's just a great piece of technology that I think is underutilized these days. So yes, not only is journaling great for organizing your thoughts, but perhaps you could pick out certain patterns that are really holding you back, certain thoughts which affect your emotions and then feed into your actions. Right? You could start to dissect that and understand that and pull yourself out of whatever might be holding you back at the time, whether it be bad habits or your self-limiting beliefs. Writing them down and organizing them is a wonderful way for you to connect with that and get to a higher level of understanding so that you might grow. You might develop skills and recognize certain things about yourself so that you might better deal with them. And while you're doing all the wonderful journaling, try to keep it in mind that eventually you're going to share these things. So it's not enough to be locked away in your journal, but if that works for you, perhaps you're not interested in sharing your thoughts with the general public. Some people have a problem with that. Some people are worried about what they might think. And some people just don't really value or trust other people's opinions anyways, and that's perfectly fine. But I would implore you to really share that with others, perhaps even share it with people that are familiar with the topic that you're trying to solve or problems that you're trying to solve. Share it with somebody that understands what you're up against. And then perhaps you're going to get a little better insight in which direction to take. So yes, super important to take stock of yourself. Journaling helps with that tremendously. The first thing you do in the day, the last thing you do, generally it's about the last thing you do in the day. Then you could really reflect on what's happened, what you can improve upon, and what might be coming next, rather than just backing into each day. Really try to plan out each day and as best as you can anticipate what's coming down the pipe, and so that you could accommodate all of these things and not spread yourself too thin. And in the meantime, if you would like more tips and tricks, techniques, visit our website at discursivestudios.com, where we release more in-depth articles related to these topics. Everything that we cover on the videos is directly related to the topics, and I try to unpack things more. There's little nuances and there's just little things that always come up. And I think writing, if it's being scribbled down on a piece of paper, or if you're really filling out that journal as they did in the past of journaling, they have a certain particular topic or they're investigating something, they would stuff that journal with as much data as they could and corroborating evidence and eyewitness testimonies. So you really have this in-depth, clear picture of who you are, first and foremost. We're going to be applying this all to ourselves to first understand ourselves. And then once we're sharing these things, then we're really just sharing it with our past self, giving yourself that advice, which may have helped in the past, how you've overcome problems and such. So is it really possible to have this world of philosopher kings, perhaps, where competency is flourishing, there's abundance of wealth and health all over the place? Do I believe that? Well, I don't necessarily have to, because as I've said already, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've felt it within me grow as I apply myself. And I try to get over the easy way out and those quick fixes which might hold us back for weeks, if not years at a time. I think there's tremendous opportunities for us to work together, and there's no telling what we can accomplish.